Welcome.
is.
Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order. And if everyone please stand, as is our custom, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Did you have?
Okay, on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the prior meeting. It should have been included in the board pack, and it was in mine. Does anybody have any additions, corrections, adjustments?
I didn't see anything that was out of line,
Okay,
so if no one else says anything, I'll protest. I will make a motion, we accept the minutes as presented.
okay. George makes a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
I was not here, so as is my custom, I will probably abstain from voting, so I'm not going to second this, so I'm going to leave it up to our new member.
Well, I don't think.
I wasn't here either.
He's not allowed to,
He can't vote?
I
he cannot
Okay,
vote,
I forgot.
unfortunately.
So that means I have to.
I hope
I'm an
somebody,
observer, right?
I hope somebody addressed that.
That means you have to.
I'm not sure exactly of my precise role, but outside of observation, I understand
And
it.
certainly communication between us and the school board.
I forgot that he was here representing the school board, so I will go ahead and I'll second George's motion.
I'll make the motion in a second.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Do I need to vote on that, Jeremy, to have a,
Yes.
yep, okay, okay,
Okay,
I'm in.
opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Keep things moving.
Keep on going here.
It's a small.
Start with the approval of claims. If you, Jeremy, would be so kind to walk us through those.
We have a few. First claim is for A&Z Engineering, a little over 3,400, 3150, which is for ongoing engineering on 300 North and 200 West. Westler Engineering in the amount of $2,499.38 is for the airport lift station project. Calico LLC.
Those are our new plates.
Okay, those are for the nameplates for the new board members. Regions, $750 is for the bond issue, our payment to them for managing those bonds. Emmons Engineering, $630 is for engineering services related to subdivision off of US 30, Old 30. Cornerstone, 5160 is for I'm sorry, this is the park, that's their name. I was thinking of her name, not the company name. That's for the park planning for out by the airport.
Report, yeah.
And then the last two, the 500,000 and the 124,400, those are just reinvestments. So those are prior to 3 or 4 years ago, when you did a bond issue, you had to have a certain amount of that bond payment set aside. Since these are older bond issues, we have those money set aside, and we are investing those. Those go into the funds that we invest, so we make interest off them while they sit there for the 20 years. At the end of the 20 years, that money will go to pay off one of the final or multiple final bonds, depending on the size of what was required.
Payments, yeah.
Payments. So that's what those two are. That's just us taking the money out of the investment and then putting it back into the
So
investment.
what about the 20 years again?
So,
I missed that, I just wanted
So
to.
the bond issues are typically 20 years,
Okay.
not necessarily, some of them may be 18, just depends on the
Right.
lifespan, but
Right.
since these are older bonds, you do not, probably notice the last 2 or 3 we've issued have not had these, or they've been substantially less, like a quarter of a payment or something like that. Back when we did these,
In
it
order to
was
get a
usually like
lower
50,
interest rate.
50 to 100% that you had to have this set aside, which basically covers, say, if for some reason taxes come in late or something, you can use those funds to pay that. and then you'd have to put the money back into that fund. We haven't had that issue and should not have that issue because all of our bond funds are covered by revenue that we have. So we always have money in our account to cover those bond payments.
Okay.
But it's still required when we issue these bonds to have that, rather than the money just sitting there for 20 years. We have a plan with Baker Tilly where the city invests money on a cycle.
Yeah.
So these funds go into that investment cycle. So when they get kicked back out, you see them come in, you sign for them, they go back into the investment.
Good. Okay, thanks for the clarification.
Thank you. Any other questions?
No, I don't have.
Hearing none, I'll call for a motion
I would make a motion to approve these claims
as presented.
as presented.
Thank you.
And I will second that.
So Mike makes a motion to accept as presented, and George has seconded that. And hearing no further discussion, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Okay. Before we go any further, I want to welcome Brad to our illustrious group.
Thank you.
Welcome as the school board representative on this organization. Would you like to introduce yourself to the rest of the group? Does everybody know you? I don't know.
That's a good question. Brad Johnson, just started my second term as a board member of Warsaw Schools. Live in the Claypool area, south of town. I've been out there for 24 years, I think. So, graduated from Warsaw back in the day. Kind of moved in and out quite a bit. My dad came and went from the area, and so I just kind of followed him until I graduated high school and went my own way. But no, that's it. I work here locally at a company out of Logansport called Dilling Group. They're a mechanical electrical contractor. I run an engineering group for them, and it's my life.
I used to work with a guy named Drinkwine from,
Drink wine?
he helped on the building of the Medtronic building.
Okay. I think he's either moved on or retired since then.
I'm sure he has. Been 20 years,
Yeah.
believe it or not.
Yeah, I've been at Dilling for 13 years now, I think.
Mhm.
13, coming up on 13 years in April.
Wow.
You go to Logansport very often.
Not very often. We have offices throughout, all the way down into Tennessee, and we were bought out in 2018, I think it was, by a company called Comfort Systems USA, based out of Houston, Texas. We have 35 operating companies across the country, about 14,000 employees, and specialize in skilled trades. We're the largest non-union contractor in the country. So I get around with them. I go all over the country for them, but I don't go to Logansport too often.
I have a store in Logansport, and I hardly ever meet anybody from Logansport.
Okay.
I had the good fortune to meet Dick, the
Yep. Big Dilling.
originator.
Yep.
And
And when he
very
sold
nice gentleman.
Yes, he sold out, and he stuck in as a consultant for about 3 or 4 years, and then he's pretty much out of it altogether now. But his nephew, Eric Ott, is the CEO of the Dilling Group, the operating company. So still some family legacy going on there.
Yeah, great. Well, welcome.
Thank you, thank you.
And we'll look forward to getting some information going back and forth to the school board, as is constructive for this group and theirs.
Yeah.
Sounds great. I'll contribute where I can.
Very good.
We
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thanks for your service as well.
thank you.
Okay, we should move on. We have the new business, we have a downtown study proposed. And I'll let you.
Yeah, so back in 2002, Warsaw did the downtown Warsaw Action Agenda through Hyatt Palma with some of the projects that we have going on downtown and some of the things we've accomplished. It might be a good time to update that. So in discussions with the mayor, he had requested a contract from Hyatt Palma to update that downtown vision plan. And that would be paid for out of the Redevelopment Central TIF District or allocation area. This contract is basically to update the downtown plan, look at what's changed, look at what we need to focus on, and create kind of an action plan moving forward. The contract amount is for $27,500, and like I said, would come out of TIF funds for the downtown district.
Pay half down and half on completion.
Yep.
So, let me see, multiples of this, but, okay. Any questions? So we need to approve this
Yes,
contract.
yep, you'd be approving this contract, and then obviously we'd work with them to schedule. I mean, they're meeting with the common council, they're gonna meet with some local groups, so it'll be basically kind of like a planning exercise to create a vision plan, much like what they had back in 2002. It's just looking at that plan, seeing what we accomplished, seeing what we didn't accomplish, what's new, what's changed, what needs to be looked at with the Buffalo Street project and the mixed-use building down there, the Owens, the old Marsh. We certainly have a lot to talk about, so.
Lot of
Any
cha-
idea
lot of-
when they want to start?
We'll be doing it this year. I don't have a timeline yet. I think a lot of it is probably, once we sign this contract, then we'll sit down and talk about.
See, they are estimating approximately 3 months to complete it.
Yep.
But I didn't see a date at the beginning.
A lot of things have changed in 20 years, so.
They
Be
have.
interesting
I
to see
remember
what's
that.
gonna, what they come up with.
I remember okaying 20 years ago, okaying it on council. Now you get to do it.
Okay?
So Jeremy, what's required on this? Do you need a motion or?
Yeah, just approving the
Okay. I would
contract.
make a motion to move forward with this Hyatt Palma study. Get the ball rolling.
And I'll second that.
Okay, Mike makes a motion to approve the contract, and George seconds that. Any further discussion? If not, call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, next on the agenda is the Shelton. Let's see, what was that? That was, oh, the improvements.
Yeah, so this is another professional services contract for engineering services with Engineering Resources, Inc. In our conversations with the developer up on Sheldon Street that's doing the townhome project, we talked about some improvements to Sheldon Street. These go a little bit further than just that development, but certainly as part of their investment in that area, we've agreed to do some road work along that development area and some of the side streets to provide sidewalks and so forth that would be all encompassing into the Sheldon Street plan. At the same time, this goes a little bit beyond their work in that we will be looking at a striping plan from the roundabout all the way up to State Road 15. We'll also do a study that will look at an electrical design for potentially streetlights along that area as well. What comes out of that, on Sheldon, yes, what comes out of that, we may adjust this contract depending on the cost estimates to put some street lighting in. I'm not committed to doing that yet until I know what the price of it is, but we'll certainly look at that.
Hopefully you can get another grant for the street lighting like we have in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll look into it.
There's two things going on here. There is some safety issues out there. I don't know if you know the history of it, but there is kind of a sharp curve as it turns back towards 15. We've had multiple cars go through that curve and
Really?
hit those townhomes that are there. Lighting might help. I think striping is going to be the biggest thing. Right now, when we originally designed that, we didn't put in any striping because a lot of it was undeveloped. So now that it's developed, we can start to do turn lanes and striping that wasn't there when we originally built that road. So now's the time to do it. That's what a lot of this is about, is getting those striping plans, turn lanes. So I think the striping will help because as you're driving, you'll see the lane markings that don't exist now. Right now, it's 38 feet back-to-back curb 3-lane road with no lane marking.
All blacktop.
All blacktop, so this will help a lot, line markings. I'm gonna look at lighting, we might just light some intersections, we may do a little bit more in-depth lighting. I know the school has talked about doing a walking bus along there. The main 300 North is all lit, so it kinda depends on if we can tie into that system and take some lights north, we'll do so. There is lighting out there, so it's not as dark as some areas because you have the commercial area that's lit in the back and you have the apartment complexes that are lit, so it's not completely dark, but there are some sections as you get up by Northwest Woods. The apartment areas are lit, but when you get up by Northwest Woods, it's not as lit as much, so we'll look at maybe we're lighting some of those intersections. But
I assume we have the proper signage on the roads for curbs and stuff.
yeah, the signage is there. I don't know that it requires, based on the MOT, I don't know that it requires curb signs. I really think it just comes down to putting some lane signs in, and if we have to, maybe lighting some intersections, provide a little bit of light. The townhomes will have a lot more light out there, obviously, than what's out there now, once the townhomes go in, but just some street lighting along there, especially with the sidewalk. We'll look at what the cost of doing that is. I am committed to doing it in this plan. The first part of this plan is just doing a study, getting to the point where we can do a cost estimate. Once we have that cost estimate, then we can decide whether that's something we do in this project or we do at a later date.
Electrical design, civil engineering design, all that's good. On page 4 of that document is the fees, totals $36,000. You can see what that all includes, land surveying and bidding, and construction administration.
Yeah, so the plan will be there. Once we know a cost estimate, we'll decide whether or not we include that in the scope of the project. I mean, the thing is, when you do these projects, you can only get so many lights on a service point. Those service points alone are like $15,000. So if I can take some lights off the existing service point, if we can run a certain distance off the existing service point, maybe that makes it a little bit more feasible. We'll just have to look at it and see.
Any questions?
I'll make a motion that we approve the proposal for Sheldon Street improvements study.
As presented?
As presented.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve. Any further, more questions?
I'm just thinking,
Uh-oh.
just thinking.
Well, there'll be a slight pause.
Okay, I'll give you a second on that. I'll second that.
Mike seconds the motion.
I just had to digest it.
Sure, that's fine. Any further discussion? Still have the opportunity to ask questions?
No, I'm good, Tim.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Hearing no further discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay? Motion carries. Okay. Moving right along, we have the Wessler agreement.
Yeah, so this is just an amendment to the existing contract for the airport lift station project. Increasing that contract by $11,200 for ongoing construction management. So Wessler, we do some of the inspections are done by our wastewater department, because we did create an inspector position for some projects, but they don't do all the inspections, so we still have Wessler on site, which helps reduce the overall cost. So rather than signing, a $60,000 or $70,000 contract, we're around $15,000 to $20,000 for most of our projects, because they'll still do all of the engineering questions. Will still go through them. So if the contractor's out on site and something's not right or there's a problem, Wessler is available to fix those problems or create solutions for those problems. They do all of the hourly, check the pay application sheets, materials that go in, all that documentation, and then they run the quarterly. We meet once a month, bi-monthly construction meetings that we have. They'll run those meetings as well. That's what this contract's for. We've had a few snags, nothing too bad. Obviously, some of you may know that there was a dump out by the airport at one point in time, which we were aware of that. We didn't know what that was going to mean for the project, but once they started digging to lay the gravity line to the south towards the airport, they hit that former dump, and we had to haul out to a new dump, loads of trash that they had to dig out from the hole where the pipe was going to be at.
Backfill some of it.
Oh yeah, you gotta dig it out and you gotta backfill 2 feet with sand, so a lot
And
of
that's
it's.
where the expense comes in.
Yeah, the backfill cost, you know, I don't know what we're gonna get into yet. It's gonna depend on how far it goes. There's some people that have told us that that dump doesn't go all the way through, so we may get, in another 100 feet, we may get out of it. Or maybe 200 feet, we won't know. I mean, but we gotta deal with it as we go, so when they run out of it, they run out of it. Until that time, we've gotta throw it in trucks and ship it to the dump and pay for the backfill.
Very good. Welcome, Mr. Gross. Good to see you.
Thanks for your patience. Yeah, I had a meeting at the school that I was responsible to attend, so thank you.
Fully understand. Multiple responsibilities. Okay, any questions, Miss? We are currently looking at the Wessler
Item
agreement.
4 on the agenda, or I'm sorry, item 3 on the agenda.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
In case you had any questions or,
No, any action will need to be taken, I'll vote present, that's it.
okay.
So, yeah,
So the contract really is just gonna be amended with an additional $11,000 increase to
For
deal with the
construction
problem.
management.
Yep, 11,200, yep.
So just a couple of solutions or problems we had to deal with is the trash was one. The other issue that took up more time was stormwater, so groundwater pumping. We knew there was gonna be groundwater pumping, you don't know how much, you don't know where you can take it to, so once they were out on site solving that problem with some of those additional costs. So yeah, that's why the 11,200.
Well, I would make a motion that we accept the 11,200 addition to this contract.
Okay. We have a motion to accept the 11,200 addition to the contract,
I'll second that.
and George seconds that. Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
I will abstain, vote present, thank you.
So noted. Opposed, nay? Motion carries.
Jeremy, I do have a question. This lift station is to facilitate the new addition that's going to go in on the north side of that road.
Yeah, so it's to provide sanitary sewer to them and the airport. The airport does not have sanitary sewer, they have septics. So this will solve a ongoing issue with the airport and their septic system. And this is the one that we, in essence, got free money through the SRF loan fund to build this project. So it was coming out of Northern TIF. We've reimbursed the money that we did pay out of Northern TIF. The remainder of the original contract will get paid out of SRF funds. Any cost overruns will go back to the Northern TIF. So you will see some claims at the end of this project for change orders. Obviously with the trash, we're gonna have some cost overruns on that. But the bulk of this project is paid for from those SRF loan funds.
You might explain that to Brad, what an SRF fund is? Maybe he
It's a
knows.
state revolving loan fund. They basically get better rates, obviously, through the state. So the state's more or less investing in state or city or municipal projects or county projects throughout the state. And we get decent rates through them. And we also get bonuses. and your rate reductions, depending on types of projects you do. Wastewater projects, environmental cleanup projects, that type of thing. Because there was a combination of two projects, there was Warsaw Chemical and this project. By doing those two projects, we were able to reduce our interest rate, which in the end generated the money to do the project. So by reducing our interest rate, we still pay the same amount of money, but we get to do this, we get this money to do those projects. So because there are two environmental, one is eliminating septic systems, and the other one was cleanup of environmental contamination in groundwater. So because we're doing those two projects, in essence, we get a reduced interest rate. The interest rate savings, in essence, generates the money to do the projects, and we're able to accomplish those projects without it costing the taxpayers additional funds.
At least the local taxpayers.
The local taxpayers.
Just want to clarify that.
Some
Yeah.
taxpayers pay.
Some, yeah, maybe. So, does that satisfy your question?
Yeah, I just thought, I'm trying to bring him up to speed,
Absolutely.
and there's a lot to learn, and thought it might help, one step at
Yeah.
a time.
5 years from now, you'll understand. It'll be, took George 10, but that's another.
Actually 12.
Still working on it.
So we keep it light, obviously, but we appreciate everybody's involvement and understanding. And it takes a while to get that understanding.
Yeah, we've all
because everybody understands that. Okay, thank you very much, and we'll move on to the right-of-way, quick claim deed.
Yeah, so this is the last right-of-way parcel we need to move forward with the Anchorage Road project. So you've seen some of these come before you in the past. This is the last parcel, and the total amount is a little over $30,340. If you turn to, I think, the fourth page, I'll give you a pretty good idea of what we're acquiring as part of this project is the crosshatched area. There are some other easements we're acquiring also, some construction easements to do the work. And then there is some storm sewer easements as well that we're acquiring. So all of that combined equals that $30,000 that we're paying for this right of way. And this will also go before the Board of Works, but since the Redevelopment Commission, the Northern TIF, funds will be coming out of the Northern TIF to pay for this right of way. So we need your approval for that pay application for this right of way. And then the Board of Works will approve the pay application in terms of the LPA voucher agreement. As you know, this is an NDOT project, so we typically pay out 80% and get reimbursed 20%. Right away is a little bit different because it's a set amount. So whatever our set amount, I think we were reimbursed $270-some thousand total right away. So we don't necessarily get a complete 80-20 match, but we do get money back on the right of way that we pay for.
Was this the result of two appraisals?
Oh, yeah, this is the whole federal process, which is a lot more cumbersome than two appraisals.
Yeah.
You have appraisals. It depends on the type of property, but there's appraisals, and then there's appraisers that review the appraisals. It's, you know,
I noticed that the 80%, the 20%'s already taken. Taken out of this
yeah.
claim. So it's been reduced by 20% already.
They
Down
will
on page
reimburse
15 on the
us.
very end there.
Yeah, they will reimburse us the total that was allocated for right-of-way, which I don't remember off the top of my head. It's a couple $100,000. So once we hit that, we'll fill out these claims, we'll submit them to them. They'll reimburse us that total amount. Once we hit that, they will not give us any more money. They don't care about the 80-20 at that point. So initially, when you apply for these projects, you have to estimate all these numbers. And obviously, it's very difficult to estimate what the appraisal value of land is going to be. We have, so you're estimating two things. You're estimating the number of parcels you're gonna take, you think you're going to take, and you're estimating what the cost of those parcels are going to be. So we do the best. I don't think we hit this exactly. I think we're probably gonna end up at like 350 or 370 some thousand we've acquired on right away, and I think we estimated like 310 some thousand. So pretty close, not bad, but for 18 parcels, but it won't work out to an 80-20. But
Well, we're gonna get what we want.
This particular parcel is the last parcel on the south side next to the railroad tracks.
yeah, this is the last right-of-way parcel that we need to acquire.
Is that curve there, is that the riverbank? Is that what I'm looking at there?
That's,
Yeah, sort of.
Okay.
I mean, it is and it
Lown's
isn't, right?
Ditch is it
Yeah.
technical term.
I mean,
Okay.
it is kind of the
Flows out of
shoreline.
Little, out of Pike Lake.
Right.
Yeah, that's what that represents. It's
Okay.
not necessarily.
Yeah, it's probably not perfect, but in general, it's the reference
Okay,
survey
it's
line
water.
for that.
Yeah, yeah, it's water, exactly.
And that's the last parcel we need before we can get started on.
It is the last parcel. Once we've signed this, paid this, and recorded this, then we will be done with land acquisition, and we'll move on to stage 3, which is the final design submittal, and hopefully we will have this out to bid November of this year for our 2025 construction. No, 2024, sorry.
Good.
So hoping to finish this all up. You got a 6-month, right-of-way has to be cleared 6 months before you can go to letting. So the sooner we get this right-of-way cleared, the sooner we can start that 6-month period. We have to do, and that's, in that 6 months, they have time to submit their stage 3, which is their final design. Once that gets passed off by NDOT, then you enter into the bidding loop, and you get put on the bidding docket, the next bidding docket that you're eligible for. So hopefully later this year, early next year, that's what we're shooting for.
Cool.
Okay.
Well, I'll make a motion that we approve the right-of-way acquisition. I see the city attorney reviewed it too, so I'll make that motion
I'll
as,
second that motion.
Okay, George makes a motion to approve, Mike makes a motion second. Any further discussion, questions? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Good discussion. Okay, few last minute things. First of all, I want to recognize the years of service. Rick Snodgrass is no longer, resigned his position after 15 years on this commission.
Thank you, Rick.
So we want to get in the record that we certainly appreciate those years of service and all the contributions he's made to this group. And there'll be more forthcoming in that regard. And I also want to recognize Jeremy Mullins and thank him for his years of service on this commission as a representative of the school board. That's who Brad is replacing. So want to get that into the record as well. And you had a few things.
Yeah, I too want to just say it's been a great opportunity to work with Rick and have him help me all these years, because I was only here for about 4 years prior to him starting on this board, so having him along the way has been a great help for me. Certainly appreciate all the service and help he's given the city over the years. The other projects we have, we're getting closer. I'm hoping to bring the Matthews Amendment for the Buffalo Street, which will separate the mixed-use building from our agreement with him at the March meeting. Randy, our attorney, is drafting that amendment. I know you guys have seen the original kind of draft amendment. The second draft amendment will have our agreement between us and Matthews on the amount of money we will be reimbursing for the work that he has completed. I'm hoping to have his signature and your signature at the March meeting so that we can officially make that amendment. The project did involve some things that were of value to us, and like the demolition, obviously the building's been removed. There were phase 1 and phase 2 done on it, and there was lead and other contaminants removed from the site as part of the demolition. So those are the things that are of value to us, and that's what we'll be requesting. I will be requesting we approve to reimburse him for at the March meeting. Once I have that amendment, I'll make sure you guys get it and have an opportunity to ask me any questions prior to that meeting if you have any. And the second one is, remind me.
Memo of understanding.
We are meeting with the school on Friday of this week to continue the school corporation,
Okay.
the school board and Dr. Hopper to continue our discussion on the residential TIFs that we started. We have not taken that before the school board for their vote yet. We're still in conversations with them on that. We will be meeting with them on Friday to continue those discussions.
Is it okay if I share that with Brett, that original draft? So you can, I have a copy of it in my briefcase. I share that with you so you can get up to speed with that particular area that you're gonna be involved in.
Perfect.
So,
So I don't know if we'll be bringing that back in March or not. A lot of that'll hinge on our conversations with the school board, so still some discussions to have.
Good. Anything else to come before this illustrious group? I had one question. Is Brad, have you been sworn in?
Yes, he was, yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, sworn in.
Yes, we both came to a Board of Works meeting
Oh, that's right, I did see
and
that.
got sworn in.
And, yeah,
Okay, good.
We're legit.
it was the highlight of our meeting.
We would hate to have
No
you.
doubt.
We would hate to have you as illegit. So,
Well,
anything else come before this? All
That's all I
right. All right,
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
George makes a
Second.
motion to adjourn, and Mike seconds that.
Well, you could have done
All in favor, say aye.
Yeah.
Aye. Opposed, nay. We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.
I couldn't get out of that meeting.
No.
Kill the mic.